You are listening to the Keep the Weight Off podcast with Dr. Angela, episode number 104.
Welcome to the Keep the Weight Off podcast, where we bust all the dieting myths and discover not just how to lose weight, but more importantly, how to keep it off. We go way beyond the food, and we use science and psychology to give you strategies that work. And now your host, Dr. Angela Zechmann.
All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the podcast this week. Marchelle, it is so good to have you back. I was so lonely on my own last week.
Well, I'm sorry. It's good to be back. Hi, everybody.
Well, I'm super excited because we're getting into March now, and that's wonderful.
Yay, spring.
Yeah, exactly. Spring's on the way. The days are getting longer. You know, in the Pacific Northwest where we are, it gets really, it's like we don't get a lot of sun, we don't get a lot of daylight in the wintertime. And when the days start getting longer like this, it just feels like we're all kind of coming out of our cocoons. And I just feel better. I hope you feel better too, right?
Yeah, I saw one, we have one little crocus flower poking up through the residual snow. And I saw the other day, I was like, yay, spring is coming.
Yeah, snow is not typical for around here, by the way.
No.
So that was a little weird.
But that was weird, huh?
Yeah. Well, so anyway, our days are getting more normal. Things are feeling better, and people are starting to go. They're starting to plan spring break trips and thinking about, I know I just planned a trip. And so you just got back from vacation and you had some insights or some questions and insights. And we were talking about this and we're like, we need to do a podcast on vacations.
Yeah.
Right, so.
Yeah. It seems like whenever I go on vacation, I always come back and I always have a discussion with you.
Yeah. Vacations are hard. I mean, we're out of our routine and it can just be really, really hard. So tell all of our listeners what you told me about what happened to you on vacation. Okay.
Yeah. So I know vacation, it seems like every time I go on vacation, I always have to do a podcast about it because something goes awry. Yeah. So this time was a little bit different than the last vacation that I went on. The last vacation was like a destination vacation. And this vacation was more about family and visiting.
Yeah.
And my husband and I, we brought our two sons, and we knew that we were going to be doing a lot of restaurant eating and a lot of visiting.
Yeah.
So we did talk ahead of time about what we were going to do, because we wanted to give ourselves permission to splurge because we were on vacation. Because let me back up a little bit. Rich and I, my husband and I, we did the sugar and flour detox January 1st. So, we were sugar and flour free. We're doing really super well and we're feeling fantastic.
Yeah.
And so we didn't really want to go off the rails and feel like crap during vacation.
Yeah.
Because,
so you talked about it ahead of time, which is great.
We did. Yeah, we did. So
I think that's wonderful.
We had a bit of a plan. So, the first thing that we ran into was, I think it was either the first night, I can't really remember, first night or second night that we were there. The kids, they wanted to go out to ice cream. And, we didn't want to be like the jerks that said, no, we don't eat sugar. So you guys can't go out to ice cream. So we all went out to ice cream. And, in the back of my head, I was thinking that there would be like a sugar-free option, because nowadays there are sugar-free ice creams. And, so I thought, okay, there'll probably be like sugar-free ice cream there. And so, but when we got there, I was like the last one to order, because, I was really wrestling with this because I knew what could possibly happen. I knew that the cravings were going to start, because I've done this before. The cravings were going to start. I knew that I was going to start feeling like crap because, I was going to be like full of sugar. I knew the next day I wasn't going to feel so hot. It's kind of like it's like a sugar hangover.
Yeah. I'm just feeling all the angst that was going on in your brain as you were standing there.
I know. I know. And they're like, what are you going to order? And then on top of it, so I asked, you could do the taste test. So I asked them, they did have a sugar-free option. It was like the vanilla ice cream, like the boring vanilla. So I asked them, to taste it. Well, obviously it's not the popular one because it was like freezer burn and it did not taste good. It was horrible. So I did not eat it. I did not get that one. So I did end up getting, I don't know. So I can't even remember the kind. And I didn't eat the whole cup of it, but that sort of set it off. And I didn't feel good about doing it the whole time, and like I always have this dialogue going on in my head around food, it just, I just always have. And it takes up a lot of space in my head. So, that's what started it.
Okay.
So as the vacation, progressed, we went to restaurants and people were asking me, we were talking about, like, what are you doing with your life now? And, like how have things been? And when I told them, like what I do for a living, and, working in this field of weight loss and obesity medicine, people get really interested because I feel like so many people, are, as we were talking about earlier, are always cheating on their diets. And, and they're always interested in, like what I'm going to eat or what I'm going to choose or, what they should eat. And so I became really self-conscious about, what I was going to choose. And I didn't want them to think I was being picky or I didn't want them to feel like I was looking at what they were going to choose because like as the vacation progressed, I noticed that people started to sit away from me or that they would sit me with the kids because I knew that they didn't want me to, to judge what they were eating. And I really wasn't. But I did become more self-conscious about what I was eating. And I think a lot of it just had to do with, the dialogue that was going on in my own head because I was battling with my own self. And so, I also was trying to really listen to, my own body because a lot of, I was raised where you eat everything on your plate. You don't leave any behind. You don't want to waste food. And I would a lot of times overeat. And, I would eat, where I was stuffed. And so now I try to really listen to myself. I eat a lot slower and and I'm okay with, I still have some guilt about, leaving food behind, wasting food, but now I do it. I will leave food behind because, I know that I need to stop when I need to stop. So that was something that I was practicing. And, so I tried to pick out the proteins, and just listen to the cues of my body. And we pretty much ate out every single meal.
Yeah. When you were thinking about this, as you were going through it, and you were sort of like, you had the little ice cream splurge, and then you were feeling sort of self-conscious as you were moving forward to it. Were you planning to like get right back on track when you got home?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So this
was only a fight. We were only there for 5 days. So,
well, that's enough.
This was, this didn't, wasn't like a 2-week trip. It was 5 days. And, my husband and I, we talked about, even if we did the splurge, we were going to get right back on track. We knew we were going to feel like crap because we were going to be, eating some sugar and we just, I don't know if anybody's done the sugar detox, if you splurge, you do feel like crap. And then when you get back off, you do feel like crap for a little while. So we knew that was going to happen. And we talked about, getting right back on track. We, which we've done. We didn't do it as fast as we thought we were going to. Just, I don't know why, it took us a few days to get to the grocery store. I think weather might have had something to do with that because we got back, it snowed, which was crazy. So weather played a part in that because, we just didn't get to the grocery store as fast as we were going to. But but we definitely did not get off the rails for a long time because we don't, that's not the lifestyle that we want. The lifestyle that we want is healthy.
Right.
And so, so that's our focus. So But I mean, vacations, I don't know what it is about vacations, but I just, they're difficult for me to navigate. You never really know what's going to, sideswipe you because, anything can happen because it's just not planned. You can't plan everything out. And this one definitely was different, a little different for me.
Tell our listeners what happened to the weight.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So then, when we got back, of course, I get back to work and I wanted to jump, on the body composition machine, of course, because I wanted to see like what
to assess the damage.
What was the damage? And when I got on there, it said, that I lost 2 pounds. And I was like, oh, yay. I'm so happy. But lo and behold, I had lost muscle and I had gained fat. I turned that muscle into fat and it was visceral fat. My visceral fat went up 2 points. So,
gosh. Okay,
so, I was only fooling myself for a minute. So,
point is, again, don't pay attention to the scale, the weight on the scale, because it will deceive you every single time. I can't tell you how many times I go through this with our patients and our online students. It's like, it will deceive you every time. You can't eat junk and not gain visceral fat. Really, you just can't.
Yeah.
So, when I use the word junk, I mean processed food. So, yeah.
Sugar for me. Yeah, it was a weekend of not eating the way that I was used to eating, which is healthy.
Yeah.
And so my body was turning, muscle into fat for a few days.
Well, it wasn't actually turning. I don't know if I'd say it wasn't taking muscle fibers and turning that into fat. It was just
that's not the right words, I guess.
It was using up muscle mass and it was adding fat. And your metabolism just switched because your insulin levels were running high. Yeah, exactly. So very interesting. So is there anything else that you want to tell our listeners before I chime in with what I want to talk about?
No, that's about it. I mean, we just kind of turned to like a conversation that we were having in the clinic after I got back from vacation into a podcast.
Exactly.
So that's it.
So I wanted to talk about this in detail because so many things came up for you on this trip. And it's as if everything is fine if we're home and we're in our own routine. But the minute that we change our routine and get around other people, then all these strange things happen in our brains, which is why I was like, boy, I would like to have been a fly on the wall in that room while you were standing there in that ice cream line trying to figure out what to do.
I know, it felt like I was there forever.
Yeah. Well, so there are a couple of aspects about this that I want to discuss. And so the first thing that I want to talk about is what happens to everybody. And I'm just going to name it the Vacation Splurge Mentality. We could even call it VSM for short, Vacation Splurge Mentality. So you are dealing with this a lot, and that's actually something that's really highly encouraged, at least in our culture in the United States. I don't know about other countries, but here in the United States, we only get like 2 or maybe 3 weeks of vacation every year. Like, other parts of the world, they get like 6 weeks off every year. And they're not working 40 and 50-hour weeks like we are. Like, we are workaholics in this country. And so we're like this real nose to the grindstone, like get her done. We're completely unbalanced. So essentially, most people in this country are overworked most of the time. So we decide, okay, we're going on vacation. We're going to let loose. We're going to drink, we're going to eat, we're going to party, we're going to do all kinds of crazy stuff, and we're going to just do whatever we want because we're on vacation. So we spend months looking forward to a vacation, to lying on the beach, drinking fruity cocktails and eating at all-inclusive resorts, or maybe we're going to go on a cruise and we're going to eat and drink everything that's offered to us. And I just want everyone to know that I have been in this place myself mentally many times, where all of my good nutrition goes out the window and I just splurge for an entire week and sometimes even 2 weeks, depending on how long the trip is. And I've noticed that some people will even try to lose some weight ahead of time so that they can splurge guilt-free on their vacation.
Oh my gosh, that's what I did the last vacation that I went on.
Yeah. So I call this the vacation splurge mentality. Okay. So I want everyone listening to this podcast to know that I believe that vacations are wonderful and we don't get enough vacation time. But when you think about the consequences of vacation splurge mentality, just ask yourself, is it really worth it? Because essentially what's happening is we're giving up our health for a really long period of time. Because after a week of splurging, we're feeling icky on our vacation anyway. Our bodies are trying to deal with all that sugar and flour. And then we come home and it's so hard to get back on track because our brains are back in that craving cycle again, right? So that's my question. Like I can't tell you how many patients and clients we've seen who've been doing great. They're feeding themselves nourishing food. Their bodies are healthy again. They've lost all kinds of weight. Their blood pressure's come down. Like their diabetes is under control. Like they're doing great. And then they go on a vacation with vacation splurge mentality in the back of their brain. And they get off track. And then they have a really, really hard time getting back on track. They gain a bunch of weight back. And the problem is that all that sugar and flour that they had on the vacation triggered the addiction center in the brain. And now the cravings just become unbearable. And the next thing they know, they're back at the store. They're bringing back the donuts and the cookies and the chips. They're eating out again. They're back into that toxic relationship with food again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly what happens.
We have seen this over and over and over again, just over. And so what do we do to fix this? Well, what I'm going to say is going to sound pretty radical. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. How about this? How about we reject vacation splurge mentality? So what I mean by this is develop a life in which you're not so overworked that you feel like you need to let loose and go crazy on every vacation. Use vacation time to connect with friends and relatives without focusing on food and alcohol. And just think about how you might do that. So I'm asking all of our listeners, think about how you might go on a vacation and not be focused on food and or alcohol or partying or like letting loose and going crazy. What if you were to use vacation time to explore a part of the world that you've never seen before and focus on the culture and the activities that are available in that part of the world and not so much on the food? Like there's all kinds of hikes to take, there's museums to see, there's cultural performances to attend, all kinds of things to do that have nothing to do with food. So wherever you are when it comes to food, you just focus on eating whole, nourishing food, protein, vegetables, healthy fats, some fruits, but don't use the vacation as a time to splurge and risk your hard-earned weight loss and health. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense.
Do you think that's possible? Like, does that?
I really think it's possible.
I think after a few vacations where you've been in vacation splurge mentality and all your hard work's like gone out the window and you've had all this struggle coming back, it's like, well, maybe it isn't worth it. I know that I made that decision after I had a whole week of debauchery when I went to Hawaii with girlfriends one time. And I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's just not worth it. So we use our vacations as a time to not do work, but we don't use it as a time to, indulge in toxic, addictive, processed food and beverages. So, yeah, does that make sense?
I'm just kind of sitting here like asking myself, like, why didn't I do that? Because I feel like I know all this by now, and I'm just trying to figure out like what went wrong in my brain where I felt like I couldn't just say no, or why I couldn't just say, no, you guys go ahead and you guys eat the ice cream and I'm okay with that. I don't eat sugar. And, I don't know why I couldn't do that. I don't know why I was worried about looking like a picky eater. I'm not really sure yet. I'm still kind of exploring that. I don't know why in that moment of decision making, like why I choose to go one way with it instead of the other way. So I'm feeling
Yeah.
a little called out right now, and I'm feeling
No,
like
I
I'm,
don't mean,
you know, in my, you know, so I don't really, yeah. So all
I'm
of this
not,
makes sense, what you're saying. I'm just trying to
yeah,
figure out why I didn't go the
yeah.
way that I should have gone. So I don't know.
No, I don't want you to feel called out. I just want to bring
Feeling
awareness to what goes on in the brains of people when they're thinking about their vacations. It's like, wow.
Yeah, I just
you know?
I feel like I'm calling myself out is what I mean by that. I just
Yeah, I'm not.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, not by
Well,
not by you. I just feel like telling this, you know, talking about this experience. I don't know why I know better than this. You know,
yeah.
I know we tell ourselves that. I'm sure that we all do this, you know, like I know better than this. Why did I do that? And so I'm trying to kind of figure out like what went wrong there.
Well, there's another aspect to this that I wanted to bring up.
All right.
That you talked about, and that was your worrying about other people thinking that you're a picky eater, or you're worried about what they might feel judged by you since you told them what you do, and you were working at eating healthy, they might feel like you were looking at what they were eating and judging it. And
I did. That's exactly right.
Yeah. And so I want to just acknowledge that this is super, super hard. Okay. I want to explain why. Okay. The reason that doing something different from everybody else is really hard, and it's because our primitive brains are really, really focused on staying connected with a group. And if you think about what life was like for our primitive ancestors, we would die if we were left alone. So if we did anything that went against a group norm and we were left abandoned, we'd die. So our brains are pre-programmed to follow group norms. That's survival, okay? So what you were asking your brain to do as you were standing there in that ice cream line and later on is to not follow the group norms and risk death. That's just what your primitive brain was thinking. So that's why it's hard. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah. So our brains don't want us to do anything that would risk us being socially ostracized at all. And so that's really normal. Eating things differently from everyone else is going to feel very, very threatening. So just keep that in mind as you're thinking about this. And yet, you know, here we are in this toxic food environment, which is the Western processed food environment, with the food conglomerates constantly giving us messages that we should be eating their toxic, addictive food products. Remember what Dr. Ashley Gearhart said a few weeks ago? She said most of us have had very early exposure to these highly processed foods, and now our brains have been sensitized to them. And most of us have no idea how dangerous and addictive these foods are. And so the truth is that if we want to be healthy, vibrant people, we want to overcome the need of our primitive brains to fit in. And we'll want to become one of those picky eaters who just makes special requests in restaurants and doesn't join in on the ice cream just because everyone else is. We'll want to stop trying to manage how other people feel about us, let them have their opinions, and do what we know is right for us. And this is super, super hard. Okay.
It is super hard.
I fully acknowledge it. You know, like this next weekend, I'm going to be going to visit my sister in California. It's just a quick little weekend trip. And she told me in a text message, be ready, because she knows everything about what I teach and how I eat. She said, be ready to go out for ice cream with Chris, my nephew.
That's so funny.
Because he's been looking forward to it. Yeah. And so I haven't seen my nephew in 3 years because of the pandemic and everything. And it's like, I'm looking forward to seeing him. Super looking forward to it. I told her, that sounds really good. Don't worry. I'm perfectly capable of going out for ice cream and not eating the ice cream. To me, it's about spending time with him and connecting with him. And she actually has not responded to that text message. So
no.
I'm sure she thinks I'm rigid and crazy. But I'm not going to try to manage her thoughts about me. Frankly, it doesn't, what she can think whatever she wants. She might not think I'm rigid and crazy. She might think I'm smart. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that I'm going to make the choice that's right for me, because I know that if I eat ice cream, I'm going to have to deal with cravings. I'm going to feel gross, and I'm just not willing to make that sacrifice. So it's not worth it to me. And anyway, what's more important is my presence, right? Like, I'm there.
Right.
My nephew and I are going to have a wonderful time together, whether I actually eat ice cream or not. Right?
Right.
So I'm hoping we'll play some games. Maybe we can play some Scrabble or something, like that doesn't involve food. So,
and it's really not about that. It really wasn't even about that, but it's just, it became about that for a while because I was wrestling so much with the should I or shouldn't I. That,
I know.
Yeah. So.
Well, I hope all of that makes sense. Like, really looking out for our own health when we understand what these products do to our brain and how hard it makes it to stay healthy and vibrant, and how much crap we have to deal with in terms of cravings and stuff. It's like, it's just not worth it when you have a brain that gets sensitized like that. And so I will go wherever I go and I will order whatever I want to order to eat. And I just let the waiter or waitress know, here's what I want. And they're happy to bring it. And then my daughter just looks across the table at me and she says, Mom, you are so extra. Celia, right? That's what she does. Like, Mom, you're so extra. And I'm like, of course I'm extra. Of course I'm extra. Look at me. Look at all the extra that you get.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know. So I care a lot about my health, and I'll do things that seem extra. I don't care what other people think. I don't care. They're free to have their opinions. I will nourish my body correctly. And once in a while, I'll decide that a splurge is worth it. Once in a while. So it's really interesting because once you've done this for a while, you sort of train other people what to expect from you. Remember how my sister was sending this sort of tentative text, like, you're going out for ice cream with Chris.
Right.
Like,
because she knows you.
Because she knows me. So you train other people what to expect once you've been consistently eating healthy food. They know who you are. They know what you're up to. You're firm in how you believe about how you should nourish your body. And then they just stop bothering you about it, right? They just expect that you're going to eat healthy. So, and they just...
I do. Yeah. And I really felt myself like taking steps that I didn't take on the last vacation. So, I do really feel like there's progress there. So
for sure.
I felt good coming back. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is a journey, guys.
It's totally a journey. Totally a journey.
Yeah, definitely. So, I felt good. I felt good when I got back. I felt like, that I'm always learning stuff about myself. So, it wasn't perfect. I'm not perfect. And, I felt like I didn't completely follow what the plan, but I did better than I did last time around. Yeah. I'm back on track now. Yeah. And so,
feels good to be back on track.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So it's a lifestyle change. Definitely.
It is.
And it's a journey. Like I said,
it's a journey. The journey to lasting weight loss is a journey of profound personal evolution. Never forget
that. I will not.
All right. So here are some practical tips. So the first one is don't feel guilty about having healthy boundaries around food. There's nothing wrong with wanting to stick to a healthy eating plan. So that's practical tip number 1. Practical tip number 2. Remember that there's going to always be lots of tempting snacks during the vacation. So you want to eat well. If you want to eat well, make sure that you schedule regular meals, because remember what happens if you're not eating regular meals, you're more susceptible to eating junk. And remember, Dr. Gerhardt told us that when we have not had regular meals, our brains get more pleasure and have more cravings for crap. So it's going to be super important to not allow yourself to get too hungry. Okay. It's really hard to make good choices when you're super hungry. So bring stuff from home. So plan ahead, bring healthy snacks that can give you an alternative source of fuel and nutrients when you're feeling tempted by the unhealthy options offered by people or in restaurants. So I always pack nuts and I pack low-carb protein bars so that if a meal is going to be late, I've got something filling enough that I won't get super hungry and make mistakes. That really seems to help me a lot. If you're with someone and they offer you a treat or they seem to be putting pressure on you, just say no politely. Just say no, thank you. And if you feel like you need to give them an explanation, you don't necessarily have to. No is perfectly good. No, thank you is a perfectly fine sentence on its own. But if you feel like you want to give them an explanation, you can just say, I'm committed to making healthy choices. And nobody can argue with that. Like, I'm committing to my health. Who could argue with that, right?
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. And then the last tip is to just plan activities that don't involve food, like hiking or swimming or taking a tour or sitting together and playing Scrabble or putting a puzzle piece together or something. So you want to work at finding ways to bond without food or without addictive food, right? So you can be at a relative's house and offer to cook a wonderful, healthy meal for them, and they might really, really like that. So you could bond with healthy food too. So, yeah. Do you have any other ideas, Marchelle?
I just wanted to say, so if things don't go right, don't get down on yourself.
Oh, that's such a good one.
Don't do the negative self-talk.
Yeah.
I know that we all like to do that, such a failure. I didn't do it right. I don't know what I'm doing. I suck, all that kind of stuff. That
all
is
the drama in our brains.
Yeah, right. We've talked about that on the last podcast. So, don't do it. It's just really useless and, not productive, and it doesn't help you with anything. Just don't do that to yourself. Just be kind to yourself and just keep on going and just never give up. Just keep on trying.
Never give up.
Like we just said, it's a journey. And, so that's
all right. So
that's my 2 cents.
That's wonderful. So I'm going to sum up what we talked about. So vacations can make it hard to stay on track. So there's a lot of reasons why. We talked about letting go of the vacation splurge mentality and focus instead on quality time with loved ones, or, if you're going to some sort of destination, learning about the new areas and the cultures and doing hiking and exploring and going to museums and not being so focused on food and restaurants and all of that. We talked about being willing to let go of trying to manage what other people are thinking about us so that when we make requests for healthy options in gatherings and restaurants, we're not going to be embarrassed about that. We acknowledge that this is hard because our primitive brains want us to do everything possible to fit in. And so I think it makes it easier if you understand that anxiety is there for a reason and that you can overcome that. Okay. We talked about bringing snacks from home in case meals are late and trying to make sure to schedule regular meals to the best of your ability so that we don't get overly hungry, because we're more likely to make poor choices when we're overly hungry. And we talked about not beating yourself up. Thank you for that, Marchelle. That was wonderful.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So thanks, everyone, for listening. Remember, if you want help with this, we've got a wonderful group coaching program called Empowered Weight Loss, where I'm showing you step by step how to get healthy, how to stay healthy. Empowered Weight Loss is going to teach you all the things that diet programs leave out, like how to manage your emotions without food, how to develop a new identity as a vibrant, healthy person. You can learn more and get signed up at journeybeyondweightloss.com/yes. So that is all for today. Have a great week, everyone, and we will see you next time. Take care. Bye.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Hey, if you really want to lose weight and keep it off for good, your next step is to sign up for Dr. Angela's free weight loss course, where you're going to learn everything you need to get started on your weight loss journey the right way. Just head over to journeybeyondweightloss.com/free course to sign up. Also, it would be awesome if you could take a few moments and write a review on iTunes. Thanks, and we'll see you in Journey Beyond Weight Loss.